In a town as old as its residents, the young struggle with keeping it running and yearning for something new, ultimately residing to the same fate as the town and staying the exact same. This is a manga set against the backdrop of a yakuza crime drama that dives into the anxiety that comes with feeling stuck and the difficult choices that come with doing what's best for you, even if it means hurting those you swore to help. This is Masamura Jushichi's Children of Mootown. Children of Mootown is set in a town called Marigaoka, once occupied by the Allies during the war and affectionately referred to as Murraytown or Mootown. After the war, there was an interest in renewing the now aging population of Mootown, and setting it up as a community for immigrants seeking political asylum. This caused much uproar with the community to the point where the project was abandoned, and Mootown's aging population continued to dwindle, with the few exceptions being the young gang members that helped to run it. The story follows Juichi, the nephew of a yakuza who takes care of the bulk of Mootown's criminal activities, ranging from loan sharking to money collecting to just keeping the old folks of Mootown company. Keeping him somewhat grounded is his well-meaning but childish friend Hajime, a complete opposite to Juichi's quiet and introspective nature, who more often than not finds himself in the care of Juichi whenever he finds himself in trouble, no matter the size of the screw-up. Throughout the manga, Juichi wrestles with the proposal of Mootown being considered once again for rejuvenation, waiting between doing what everybody thinks is best and what truly would be best to keep the town alive, and ultimately agreeing to work with a non-profit organization to breathe new life into Mootown. Now, I've always been a huge fan of Gekika indie alternative manga, so when publishers like Glacier Bay Books started popping up, I thought this was really awesome because there is so much more to the manga world than what we see online and what we see on bookstore shelves. And the idea that more and more people are going to experience these stories is overall really exciting. I'm also just a sucker for crime drama, doubly so when it comes to the yakuza. I'm kind of a weeb in case you guys didn't know. And so far, with everything cool that Glacier Bay Books is putting out, namely the two Glaolia anthologies, I've somehow managed to completely miss buying them every single time. So when Glacier Bay announced that they were releasing an indie manga that dives into the gentrification of an aging town set against the backdrop of a yakuza crime drama, I thought, I'm gonna buy this right away. Now, before I dive into my deeper thoughts on this manga, I really need to preface that I am going into this review completely biased, which sounds like a bad thing, but hear me out. In the 5 or so days I've had this manga in my possession, I've read it twice. Usually when I review manga, I will read through the whole thing in one sitting and then skim through it again and make some notes for the review. I put Children of Mootown down after my first read through of it, and I could not stop thinking about it. It left me with this odd sort of mood that I really don't know how to describe other than I was compelled to read it again. And after reading it again, I came to the conclusion that after Taiyo Matsumoto's Tick on Concrete, Children of Mootown is my second favorite manga of all time. And part of me thought that right away, and I even put a tweet out saying something along the lines of I'm not trying to play into recency bias or the fact that it's fresh in my mind, but no manga has stuck with me to this degree than the first time I read Tick on Concrete way back in high school. And I know this is quite a big statement to make, and I rarely take my top 10 anything seriously because it changes with my mood and, quite frankly, my age. But even before recording this, I'm reading through it yet again, because every page and every panel, every interaction between the characters, the art, the pacing, the way the story progresses, the visualization of Juichi's inner turmoil, ticks off all the right boxes for me. And I think I was so visibly enamored by this manga that my fiance, who when I recommend manga to, takes it off my shelf, leaves it on her desk for a few weeks and doesn't touch it, took it, read it right away, and herself said it was incredible. This manga tells such a somber and bittersweet story. You can tell that while Juichi feels tied to the town and obligated to keep it running, being that a lot of the elderly people of Mootown rely on the services that the yakuza provide, that he calls it home, and struggles with the idea of it changing, knowing full well that its change is inevitable. Throughout the beginning, Juichi is constantly fiddling with this folded letter that details how the rejuvenation is going to help Mootown. And his thoughts are telling him that it's time to go, that he has to get going, that he has to get up and go. And while he knows this, he pushes against his own thoughts because being a gang member, he can't exactly up and leave. And this inner conflict provides an interesting perspective on gentrification because if it does go through, it's going to hurt and benefit Juichi on different personal levels. Now, a huge part of what made this manga so good for me was Juichi's friendship with Hajime. Juichi is always looking out for Hajime, often against the recommendation of others. And it's not solely because they're friends, it's also because Hajime is Juichi's one connection to freedom. Hajime lives with such precariousness that Juichi not only secretly admires, but counts on to balance them out. For example, there's a part when Hajime is confronted about his debts, and all he can really say is, it's just one of those funny things about life, I guess. Hajime's character arc and how it relates to Juichi is also gold in this manga. I'm not going to spoil too much, suffice to say Hajime comes into possession of a gun and pulls it on the wrong person at the wrong time, which backs him and Juichi into a difficult corner because it forces Juichi to choose between protecting him and Hajime over his duties to the town and the yakuza. And anyone would admit that out of the two of them, Juichi is the one that you would rely on for help. But there's a scene at the end of the manga where Hajime, after all this time of relying on Juichi, comes through for Juichi in this unbelievably meaningful way. And it makes me wonder that, knowing Hajime's proclivity for getting into trouble, if Juichi put Hajime in the position to pull a gun intentionally, giving him an out to escape so he can live life on his own terms. Now, I will admit that if you come into Gekika indie alternative manga from a majority of the more popular, more traditional manga, that the art style may seem a bit off-putting. It's very raw and expressive and emotional in a very unique way compared to other manga. And this is where my bias might be showing, because I absolutely love this kind of art. There are these beautiful shots of rundown buildings and minimalist shots of cityscapes in the dead of night. But what really sets the tone and the mood in this manga is that in every panel where the sky is visible, it is always empty. There are no stars and no clouds, and even in a black and white medium, you instantly feel this sort of cold, gray, drizzly atmosphere that really rounds out the setting. The character designs also really stood out to me, namely Hajime, who has this big black circle in the middle of his face, and it doesn't really go into what that is, whether it's a tattoo or a birthmark or whatever, it doesn't really matter. As well as a yakuza member named Toriumi, who Juichi calls in to help smooth over the plans of rejuvenation with the locals, who just wears this menacing, creepy mask. And despite both of those characters standing out in a very obvious way, it still feels very intrinsic to the world of Mutown. I understand when I recommend a manga with a non-traditional art style that a lot of people can be put off by it and put it down after a couple of pages. And if you find yourself in that camp of people, I urge you to consider this instead. Children of Mutown is a manga about the realities of gentrification and how quickly a place you call home can change, coupled with the dark realities of working within a criminal organization. I wouldn't want that story to be accompanied by what people would consider traditionally polished art. To me, it would feel really out of place, and it wouldn't make Children of Mutown as special and as charming as it is. Now, I realize the point of these reviews is to introduce you guys to manga and plead its case as to why you should read it. And while I hope I've sufficiently done that today, I would basically like to beg you guys to give this manga a chance. I genuinely believe that this is a very special manga, and if anything comes of this review, I hope that it's at least one other person sees the Children of Mutown the way I do. Masamura Jushichi's Children of Mutown is available from Glacier Bay Books, both in digital and print format. I'll leave links to where you guys can check that out and buy those down in the description below. And if you do check it out, I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below, over on Twitter or Instagram @AtoShelf, or by Homing Pigeon, which if you guys need my pigeon details, you know where to find me. In any case, folks, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a comment below, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. You guys know the whole YouTube spiel by now. And as always, don't forget to support legal manga. Go to wherecanireadmanga.com to get the lowdown on where you, the viewer at home, can read manga for free through a subscription or per volume. Do it all in a way that supports the manga industry, supports the creators, and gets us more manga. Like this stuff right here. And until next time, folks, happy reading. Outro. This is an outro. Yeah. You're free to go now. Seriously, leave. I mean, why are you sitting here, man? Get out of here, man. Go. Come on. Leave. Goodbye.